and welcome to Jennifer Knatters. I'm Jennifer, and this is my knitting and nattering video podcast where I go on and on about things I have been making this last week, because this is, fingers crossed, this is turning into a weekly podcast. I don't imagine I'll be able to keep it up for very long, but I have managed for the last couple of weeks. So let's get cracking. Today is the 4th of February. I'm hoping, if I remember when we get to the end, to do a little bit about books that I read in January. And it is snowing today, which is really exciting. I was talking on the AC Techniques fan forum about sweater storage, pullover and jumper storage and everything. And my winter storage method is largely things wind up in piles that move between the chair and the bed and the floor and the bed and the chair as I wear things, because they're not dirty enough to need to be washed, but if they're not washed, I don't want to stick them back in the cupboard. So I thought, it's been incredibly warm all January. My forecast doesn't show anything remotely cooling off. I'll go ahead and wash some of the warmer ones, give them a little de-pilling, fold them and put them away. It is snowing today. It is not snowing at this exact moment, but the sky is getting darker again. So who knows, we could get lucky. So yes, sorry, I just got an email notification. I enrolled my youngest for P1, but I did it on the laptop, so I couldn't just take a picture of the supporting documents, proof that she lives where I say she lives. So I just got an email from the school saying I need to bring those in. Yes, snowing today, very exciting. I'm very excited. If my face looks red and blotchy, I waxed my chin this morning, and my sideburns and my eyebrows and my mustache and all those things. I do it because I don't like the way it looks, but I am very open to the fact that it is a thing I need to do, and I generally try not to do it on a podcast day, but it was that or be very hirsute for this one. And the hairs on my chin are just as dark and thick as the ones growing out of the top of my head, so it's quite noticeable. Moving on to what I am wearing. I am wearing my Plum Incunabula. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It is a pattern by Carrie Westerman. I'm wearing dungarees over it anyway, so there's not a lot of point in standing up. It is a cropped fitted cardigan with this mock cable detail. The body is knit in one piece. A cat is now eating cat food, and then the sleeves are picked up and knit down 3/4 length over a long sleeve t-shirt, because I am classy and no one's going to see me except in my big thick winter coat, so it doesn't really matter. Or at least no one's going to see me who doesn't love me. Unlike the other day when my 5-year-old, she's 5 now, had a half day and insisted on doing my makeup right before I went to get her sister from school, and then I promptly forgot about it again and went with like pink streaks all over my face. And it was only when I was about halfway down the street and someone was like giving me a weird look that suddenly I remembered, and I pulled my phone out and turned the camera around because I hadn't even seen it. And yeah, that was, I'll throw a picture in at the end because that's fun for everybody, right? In honor of the snow today, Libya's come to join me. Come here. She may just wind up sitting behind me. In honor of the snow today, I am also wearing my Hillhead hat, which I believe is a place in Glasgow. This is also a pattern by Carrie Westerman. I'm not going to put it on because, well, who cares? We'll do it. Hillhead hat by Carrie Westerman. This is knit in West Yorkshire Spinners, Air Valley, in a blue and a cream that I had in stash. It is a discontinued yarn. This is why I no longer have any of the blue in stash. Yeah, just a very nice, cute hat. That one's a standalone pattern. This one is in the, it's not a book of paper. Is it a book of paper? It's Carrie Westerman's physical book. And this one is knit in the suggested yarn the now discontinued Blacker Classic. When they discontinued it, I bought a sweater quantity and I've made it. Don't meow at me, come see me. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yes, yes. I am insufficiently paying attention to the cat. That is what I am wearing. I also have a new thing, a new section, a new idea, which is I have fixed a thing. I have cut the heel. This one had a big hole in it. I don't know that garter stitch heels are working for me because I have not worn these socks all that much and I've already had to replace both heels or replaced one heel twice. I don't entirely know. Anyway, I cut the heel off, picked up the stitches, knit a new heel, washed the socks. They were quite mucky, and I even depilled them. I did not do a great job. And I think I may need to get one of the bobble shavers, the little like electric buzzy thing, because I feel this has made it very fuzzy. Can you see that? And like those are the places where it actually pulled off the pills. I was using a gleaner. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong or what I'm supposed to do. If you have advice or suggestions or the same or different experiences, let me know. I bought it and then promptly lost it in my yarn stash. I knew it was in there and I knew which tub it was probably in, but I didn't really have a chance to go through and find it, and then I was looking for something else and I did find it. So now it is no longer in my yarn stash. It is now with my knitting needles. But yeah, these are West Yorkshire Spinners yarn again, signature 4-ply. This is the Rum Punch colorway. Neither, and then they're solid yellow and they're solid pink, neither of which quite match the colors in the rainbow, but I love these. These are so bright and cheerful. Yeah, so I'm happy to have those back in rotation. And I have a finished object to show you. This was actually finished for last week, but I completely forgot about it. This is the North Wind headband by Isolde Teague, not by Libby Kitty. And I knit it in the leftover Rico long and light that I used. It's a DK, why is it doing that? There we go. A DK cotton chainette ply yarn, really soft, really smooth. This is the Portee hat, also by Isolde Teague. I apologize to all Scottish people and or residents of Edinburgh if I am getting the names of these wrong. But yeah, it is a one color brioche knit flat seam together. It is a free pattern on her website. Portee is a paid pattern. And then there's a cowl version that I really want to knit that is a paid one. And these are all part, not the Portee hat, but I think it's Daniel's hat is the brioche hat, which is also a free pattern. And then there's a 2-color brioche hat. And on the Isolde website, the web forum, there is a class that you can take that takes you through all the brioche stuff. I have not done it, but I really liked this. This is the first thing I have knit, the first brioche thing I've knit that I have finished. It is my first single color flat brioche and I loved it. And it doesn't I mean, I can squeeze it on my head, but this is, the 5-year-old has claimed it. So yeah, it is really fun. Really liked the pattern, really enjoyed knitting that. Would absolutely do that again. Had a bit of trouble lining up the grafting because it's a tube and I started grafting it and it was going to be inside out the way I did it. So I had to unpick my grafted stitches and redo it, and now it looks fine. And yeah, so that is what I have finished to show you and what I am wearing. I did finish the Christmas socks. I think I showed you I just had a little bit left last time. I believe that's where I was. And I have cast on the replacement socks. I haven't particularly worked on them. I mean, I haven't even made it out of the ribbing yet. This again is West Yorkshire Spinner Signature 4-ply. This is the Christmas yarn from this year, which was vintage tinsel is what that's called. I will wear these year round. I don't, like, this isn't an exclusively Christmas thing for me. These are in a project bag I made when I went to a sewing class at the Wee Sewing Shop, which is here in Inverness. And this was fabric they provided, and then I adjusted it slightly. It had a different top, and I cut it off and turned that into the handle. I think this is a second one that I started in the class but finished at home. And it makes a really good little wrist bag. It clinks a little because I've put, I don't know if you do this, I do a safety pin inside, and it's got a stitch marker. That one's from Henny Penny Makes. And then I ordered these online, and it says this bag belongs to, and then it has my email address. It is the one associated with this podcast. So yeah, that's my new whip that I haven't particularly worked on at all. But you know, start a sock, finish a sock, start a sock. The other ones they do need the heel, but I've put them away because they're a very Christmassy color. So, and I just picked that. It was already, because the West Yorkshire spinners, they're already in a usable ball. You can just go for it. I'm gonna have to pick this up carefully because I pulled the needle out. And so the stitch markers, some of them are just hanging out, but not actually attached. This is my hat. I've forgotten what it's called. It is a pattern by Julia Ritter, I think, the proprietor of Black Isle Yarns, using her Aachen yarn. I was going for a 3-color one. I do not like the way the 3 colors that I have picked are working for this. So I'm going to frog it. I do not have enough of the purple to do a whole thing. So I may see if there's other colors in, like, I know there are other pinky purples, so I could see if I could get small amounts of those, because she does sets. I bought a couple of sets at Glasgow School of Yarn down in Glasgow last October. So I got the dark blue and the undyed, and then I had another set that was the pink, the purple, and the undyed, the 3 of them together. And they're just not, they worked well for the hat I made for my older child, Christina, but they're not working well in this specific way. So I may go back and just knit the mittens, which is the 3rd pattern I was hoping to make out of the yarn if I have enough. And then I can get more yarn or different, I have enough to knit it all in the blue, so I could rip it back and just do the blue. I think that's, yes, that's a car pulling up to the neighbor house. And now in front of my house. And for the end of the street. It's just really loud because the pavement's wet. And now it's backing up. Beep, beep, beep. I'm doing the beeping, the van isn't. I guess they were just turning around. Anyway, that's in my little gray girl bag. It is going to sit and think about what it has done, which is what projects do when I'm not entirely sure what to do with them. I have another one I've been working, now they're reversing. Sorry about that. The very loudly idling van has finally driven off. I was starting to say that I have picked up a long a long languishing whip. So when I picked it up, that's my stitch marker. It is knit on the bias. So I've done that much. And this is an AC Techniques published pattern. It is from their book, Knit Two Together. And I've already finished half of it. You start by knitting this triangle, and then you pick up and knit this side on the bias. I have blocked that side, and now I'm starting to knit this side. And what I am doing to make it symmetrical is I am marking which lace repeat I'm on over here and putting a stitch marker over here so I can just, I sometimes did the wrong one on this side, so it's not what the pattern says to do. And obviously if it's not symmetrical, it won't be a problem, but just to make them kind of match. And this is the Bon Ami shawl or wrap by Sarah Hatton. All the patterns in the book were by Sarah Hatton, and it is knit in something to knit with 4-ply, which is a wool alpaca blend. Yeah. And I'm absolutely gonna love being curled up in this. Gonna need to get a new ball wound up. I'm absolutely going to love being curled up in this when it is not snowing outside. It has just started snowing again a little bit. But yeah, I'm hoping to get that finished this month because the AC Techniques fan community, some of us are hoping to do a Hap along. Let me get the book, hold on. This is the Book of Haps, which is edited by Kate Davies and Jen Arnold Colorford. And this was the start of the Arnold Colorford group on Ravelry. It came out in 2016. And it started as a place for a knit along for the patterns from the Book of Haps. And then like the following year, that's when a couple months later, the first A Year of Techniques came out. And, you know, that was kind of the start of their business as a yarn shop and publishing their own pattern books, as I understand it. So anyway, people were talking about the first knit along. This is Lang Air. This is the one I'm thinking of doing. I mean, I don't have pictures marked or anything. That's the, I don't know if you can see the diagram of what the shawl looks like. A couple of people in the group have already knit it. I mean, most of these shawls, a couple of people in the group have already knit. Unicut is a gorgeous lace asymmetrical triangle. That one's gorgeous and looks absolutely like the kind of thing you would want to have on the back of your sofa to pull on you when you're warm. There are just a lot of really good patterns in here. And including kind of a traditional Shetland Hap. We will probably have a hashtag for it for Instagram. I know even in like the AC Techniques fan community, not all of us are on Ravelry anymore. Are there people out there who want a non-Ravelry space? I'd be willing to look into doing a Discord server. I have kind of suggested this to a few people and no one has really seemed that interested. If you are looking for non-Ravelry communities, I know that both Nitty and Hannah of the Corner and Craft have Discord servers. There's a few Mighty Network groups out there. There are alternatives. If you're looking for one, I can let you know the ones I know of. Or, I mean, I could look into starting a Discord server. I just don't know anyone who wants one. Otherwise, like Instagram, post pictures. I don't know what hashtag we'll do, but that's starting in March, because March is when the last pattern for Confident Knitter, I keep saying Boost Your Knitting, which is book 2, but Confident Knitter, the 3rd year of techniques, finishes. Right now it is the final pattern. It is a beautiful blanket knit by Carol Feller, designed by Carol Feller in her Nua yarn, and the technique is I-cord bind-offs. All things I'm very fond of, but I don't need a baby blanket right now in my life. And I have so much I need to get through that I'm going to stick with that. I think it is now snowing a bit more heavily. Anyway, March, Book of Haps, Reknit Along, really inclusive. I mean, if you, a shawl by any of the designers, or any of those projects, or, I mean, like, come up with a reason why it belongs in the knit along and we will believe you. It's about having fun. It's an open-ended knit along. There's no prizes. It's just for fun and getting to knit things with friends. So I'll put a link to the Ravelry group. I am sorry, it is a Ravelry group down thread. And if you have any questions, I will try to come up with answers, because right now it's all a bit vague. Anyway, yeah, I'm trying to finish that by March so that I can knit something from the Book of Haps, which I haven't knit anything from it. I bought the book, but I didn't knit anything because I like the idea of shawls a lot more than I like the physical actuality of shawls. But given our current life of sitting outside in cafes, whatever the weather, it's going to be more useful to have things I can just wrap around me. And if not, I have a friend who loves knitted shawls, and I can always give things to her and they will be appreciated. My other whip is still my blankets, my Marvelous Monthly Minis. This is where I ran out of colors and then I ordered another set of the May colors. I did a little bit, you can see there's just a strip of darker blue, and then that was the first of the May colors. I didn't like how it was creating this big dark blue section, and I'm down to this point and I am in the 4th color. So there's the tiny bit of the dark blue right here. I only used about half a ball, and then 2, 3, and 4, and I'm pretty sure I'm at the point where I could finish it in this color, or if not in this color, then in this color, and only the smallest bit of the 5th color. This is the reverse order that they went into the shawl, because it went from purple to blue at the time. But I don't know if I want to rip this back and take out that dark blue section and maybe even only do like a tiny bit of this light blue and then have it be the speckly blue and the pinky speckles and then the less speckled. I don't know. Or should I just keep going and call it well enough? I just feel like this dark blue section is a lot more of one color than anywhere else in the blanket. I mean, these are the first ones, the teals, and as you can see, they make a really wide band anyway. I don't know. I really wanted this to be my first project of the month, and I don't think it's going to be, but I need to finish it this month because Helen is doing a minis knit along. And if I finish it this month, I can put it in her minis knit along, and I can put it in, there's now another car outside, but hopefully they won't sit there with their engine idling loudly. I can do it in that knit along and her quarterly knit something with her yarn, ongoing knit along. This shawl should count for Sharon of the SCR1TNO podcasts knit along, which is finishing shawl wraps, shawl whips, with the understanding that anything you cast on has now become a whip and you can work on it. So if I get these things done, they can go in a couple places. Again, it's just fun. It's not any particular expectation of winning anything. I certainly don't need to win anything. I just tossed a project out of the way, but it is one I have not talked about yet. So that was silly of me. Just gonna have a quick sip of water. Anyway, yeah, I've got projects I'm trying to finish, clear the needles a bit, get the backlog out of the way, which is why, of course, I have cast on a new project. It's taupe. I am not a fan of taupe, but it is taupe. And this yarn is feeling so soft, and I don't know how much of that is, it probably still has some lanolin on it, which is making it even softer. The sky is clearing, but it is still snowing fairly briskly, or at least fairly briskly for Inverness, Scotland. This is a test knit for Hunter Hammerson. It is as yet unnamed. I mean, I'm sure she has a name. She just hasn't released the name yet. So I have just done, I'm still working on the ribbing. These are the needles I pulled out of my other hat pattern because they're just the best size for a hat. But they are really sharp and pointy, and that is not quite so ideal for me. I keep jabbing myself. This is Caithness yarn that I got from Loch Ness Knit Festival, I think in 2018. It wasn't the most recent one, it was the one before that. And by most recent, I mean the last one, after 2019, even before the pandemic. They said they weren't doing another run. It is Cheviot is the type of wool, and it is from a croft up in Caithness. So it's Caithness Yarns, which if you watch The Thoughtful Knitter, she's up in Caithness. Yeah, but it is, I've had that in stash for, if I said 2018, that's 4 years now, 3 years, going on 4 years. And yeah, it's feeling really nice. I hope it'll be soft enough to wear. It will be, it's an Aran weight is what I'm knitting it in. The pattern is for multiple gauges. So I hope it will be warm enough. I hope I have enough yarn. I do not have as much as Hunter recommends for, you know, like if you want to make sure you absolutely will not run out, have this much. But I'm also not knitting the largest size. And I may have taken out a repeat on the side, and I'm doing, I mean, I'm half a repeat on each side. So I'm doing slightly less, a slightly smaller size even than the pattern is written for. If it doesn't fit me, if it's too big, it'll fit my husband. If it's too small, it'll fit the kids, or it can always go in the gift pile. But yeah, this will be a cable hat with a cute crown, not even really, like, not a crown decreases. It's a different type of crown. You'll have to wait and see. And if you follow Hunter Hammerson on Instagram, you've already seen pictures of it. She posts pictures of her designs as she goes. But yeah, that's what I've been working on in the last week, which is a lot of different knitting projects. And we'll see what actually gets some progress in the next week. I would like to finish the blanket, which I think I said last time. And this is a test knit, so I need to work on it. But I do have a couple weeks to do this. It's a hat. I don't, like, now that I've got it on the needles, it should go really quickly. Don't care that much about the socks. The other hat is thinking about what it's done, which is, you know, be the colors I picked out. And yeah, so that's kind of the knitting content. We can do books now. I was going to do this on my Kindle, but then my Kindle completely is out of battery. So I apologize for doing this on the Kindle app on my phone. I have 13 books in my 2022 finished reading one. I started off with a reread of Serena Bowen's, well, I'd never read Him and Us. But then the other two, she writes smutty hockey books, some male-male, some male-female. These two male-male, these two male-female. And I really like her writing. I think they're very fun. And then I reread Come Tumbling Down by Seanan McGuire, which was a reread in time for the new one, Where Drowned Girls Go, which is a book about my favorite character in the series so far. I don't remember her name, but she's the mermaid. It's a series of books, and they're alternating every other year. There's a book in like the ongoing story, and then you get a standalone about a character's experiences. They're portal fantasies, so like children, you know, like the Narnia kind of books. Kids went off to a fantasy world, all sorts of things happened to them. They came back to the real world and they were just kids again. So this is a series of books about what happens after, and then the standalones are some of the characters, like what their experience in their portal world was. So I reread 2 years ago was Come Tumbling Down. Badish things happened to the mermaid girl, not like physically bad, or at least not on the page. And she was taken by Cthulhu-esque gods. So this is kind of the book about her recovery. I'm so happy she had a good recovery. I love her. She's my portal girl. The fat swimmer who attempted to commit suicide and wound up in a mermaid world. Like that. That's absolutely the portal for fantasy for me. I read Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, and I liked it, but I am not the target audience for this type of book. I've read and or seen and or gotten descriptions of other things that are clearly like that type of genre, and I don't know, it's not my favorite genre. I enjoyed the book right up until the end. If I was more experienced in this genre, I would have been expecting that. But yeah, I liked it. It's a light beach read that ends in terrible murder. Hello again. It was just a bit of a lunch break. We have an Oliver at the cat fountain behind us. And I think post-lunch I've got just a bit more of a frog, so I'll try to keep it down. I've also got the laundry going, so if you hear the gurgling in the sink, that's what that is. The next ones I read were The Kingmaker and the Rebel King, a 2-part romance series. I mean, it's for a romance series, it's really heavy and dark and grapples with a lot of social issues and other things. So it's not like light fluffy romance, and that's not to say light fluffy romances can't also grapple with social issues, just that this one is more of a grappling with social issues with a side of romance. I didn't love them, but I did read them both very quickly. I'll probably never read them again is really what I would say there, but they were certainly interesting. And then another 2, Best Men and Super Wingman, another Serena Bowen and Lauren Blakey collaboration. This one of them is a former European football player, and it's a male-male romance. The first one's just like a prologue that's issued as a standalone, but yeah, that would really only count as one if I was counting things in a more serious way. But since I count things by titles in my Kindle, it gets to be 2. And then I read A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and A Close and Common Orbit. I think I already had both the books. I know I had started A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet because everyone talked about how wonderful it is, how it's really like the opposite of grimdark. It's very warm and comforting and just, you know, a nice, you'll feel nice while reading it series. And I think I started it in 2020, and it just wasn't the right book for where I was at the time. In the early pandemic, I read a lot of books about pandemics, or books where like the setting was a few years after a pandemic. Not even necessarily on purpose, but there's a couple books where I'm like, oh, I'll read this. I haven't read it in a while. Oh yeah, the setting is post-pandemic. And some new books as well. And it just kept coming up as like a theme for me. I think I found it comforting to think we would get out of this and there would be more going on after. Because yeah, all of them, and like I said, read anything set during a pandemic. They were always set post-pandemic. Sorry about that. My throat has just been quite a bit tickly. I got myself a cup of tea. This is chocolate digestive biscuits from Bird and Blend Tea, which is one that after the advent calendar, I ordered some of their Christmas sale. I ordered some for myself. And then like 2 days later, my husband came to me, and based on his favorite teas from the Bird and Blend advent calendar, he had a list of things he wanted me to order for him, and one of which was chocolate digestive. So I said, like, you know, when the little bag I ordered came, you can have some, and then I'll just get a bigger bag for you for your birthday. So I got him 2 enormous bags of the teas he liked. He liked the rhubarb and custard, which is a rooibos one. I don't care for rooibos, but he's really taken to it. And a really big bag of the chocolate digestive tea. And then I also signed him up for the Tea of the Month Club. And our second one of those should be coming any day now. And he signed himself up for the Teary Tea subscription service. But then he went through the stash of tea he already had and discovered he had 160 days of tea even before he got that one. So we now have a lot of tea in the house. And none of that counts my collection of Bird and Blend teas that I really like that we already had. So yeah, I'm making an effort to drink a lot more tea. Anyway, I don't have a space for this, so it'll probably clink as I push things out of the way. Anyway, I was talking about the Becky Chambers A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Helen of Giddy Yarns mentioned that she was reading and really enjoyed it, so I thought, I'm kind of between books at the moment. I will pick that up and give it a go. Excuse me. And this time around, I enjoyed it a lot more. I think I was already familiar with enough of the premises that the thing that had kind of been off-putting to me the first time through did not bother me the second time. And I read the second book, and I really like it. Has a very YA dystopian, you know, teenager surviving in an evil dystopian world vibe backstory to it. And I really liked all the backstory parts a lot more than like the present tense story. There's more books in the series, but I haven't bought them or moved on. They're all kind of standalone. So I figured I could take a break for a bit and read other things that I already have, which hasn't stopped me buying books. My book stash is a lot like my yarn stash. I could never buy ever again and probably make my whole life out of what I already have. Especially given with books, I reread them. They don't last as long as the yarn does, but I reread them more often. So that is where I am with my January books. I would say that the 2 Becky Chamber books and the Seanan McGuire were my standouts for the month. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that Mermaid Girl got her happy story. Or, you know, if not happy, at least redemption is the wrong word. She's pulling herself together. Chris came home from his walk just now, and then it started hailing like crazy, like so much hail. We both stood in the kitchen watching it hail. His office is in the garden. And we were like, well, you don't have to go to work right away. But it just kept hailing and hailing and hailing. So can you hear that? The wind is now blowing it against the window. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is what people here in the UK will be referring to it as a blizzard, which for those of you in North America, your standards might be slightly different. But for northern Scotland, this is quite a bit of a snowstorm. This moment right here, not so much the whole day thing. If you are not familiar with the Scottish gritters, you can just go ahead and do a search for Scottish gritter map, and they've all got really cute names that are well worth having a wee chuckle at. Excuse me, my throat is completely failing to clear. So I've talked about books a bit. I think that just leaves us with family stuff. Everything here's okay. I had a bit of wobble on the podcast last week, and I thought about taking it out and even re-recorded a slightly different ending bit, which I then truncated, and I don't know what else I did. But I left it in specifically because I think this is a rough time for all of us in various waves and permutations, and I don't want to create the impression that I'm doing better than I am, or the expectation on anyone else that they should feel they are doing better than they are. So yeah, bit of a wobble last week, bit steadier this week. Yeah, Christina did get her JAG. I think it's because of a health thing she had as a baby that was just, I mean, she was completely discharged from it, and I'd completely forgotten about it, hadn't given it any thought until one of the parents I mentioned she was getting her jab said, oh, does she have a, like a pre-existing condition? And I was like, oh yeah, she used to. So based on the other people who were there and the fact that we don't know anyone else who was invited for their first jab for the 5 to 11 age group, I think she's just on a list still somewhere as having had, having this condition, even though she's been fully discharged. So it is not a thing that I expect would ever cause her any problems in life, but it means she got her jab first, so I will take it. And she got it, and she said, she didn't like the part where they actually stuck it in her arm, but other than that, she's been absolutely fine. Even the next day, she said it was a little sore if she poked specifically where the jab had been in, and otherwise she wasn't tired or achy or sore. I remember my first one, Chris and my mother and I all reported like walking around doing this to kind of ease the muscle soreness. She was completely fine. She's always shrugged off all of her vaccines. Catherine's had a stronger reaction to most of them. Christina never had any kind of reaction to anything. So she continues to be doing really well. I'm so glad she has that. We haven't reached the point yet where it'll be at full efficacy. We're only at 7 days now, 8 days now. Anyway, so at least she has some protection. There is actually a proper settling of snow outside now. It is a lot of snow. Hold on, let's see if I can do this. Oh, there's... Now we're facing the wrong way. That's pretty much me done. I hope you are having a good week. I hope you are feeling resolute and strong enough to handle all the everything that's going on everywhere. And thank you very much for watching. If you did make it this far, if you could give me a thumbs up. If you want to, you could subscribe. Those both help me just be out there more for people to find me and see if maybe they'd like to hang out with us for a while. Yeah, I'm sorry, the snow out the window is really distracting me because it's just the peripheral vision, constant motion. Anyway, I hope you're having a good week where you are. If you're in one of these snowier places than this, of which there are currently many, I hope you are safe and warm. And I hope we can do this again next week or at least some point in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye.